Hi, I'm the Guitar Trooper, YouTube's favorite old guy. It's 1976. Tom Dawes, a successful advertising jingle songwriter, sits in his office chair musing about his accomplishments in the music business and finds himself thinking about 10 years ago at his first musical career. He was in a band back in 1966, named at first the Rondells, and who, after they changed their name, could come to be classified as what one may call a two-hit wonder. In the span of just 6 months, this band went from playing at a bar to playing arenas and stadiums, and then back to bars again, but that journey also included a place on a 1966 North American tour as an opening act for the Beatles. Our story begins in the fall of 1961 at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. Guitarists and singers Don Daneman and Tom Dawes, who plays bass guitar as well, come to meet and decide to form a band to play at fraternity parties. They find Jim Mayella to play drums, who would be replaced eventually by Marty Fried, and, along with organ player Earl Pickens, form a folk rock group they named the Rondells in early 1962. The band sticks together and at first plays fraternity parties and such, and then the guys began to do gigs at clubs along the East Coast in 1964 and nearby Atlantic City during 1965. That gig will prove to be a turning point in their career. It's late December 1964. Meanwhile, even though his fortunes will greatly improve over the next year, Paul Simon feels professionally adrift after the October 19, 1964 release of the Simon & Garfunkel album Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. gets off to a very slow start. He decides to abandon both his duo act with Art Garfunkel and the New York City performance venues as well, coming to London, England to pursue a solo career, at least for a while. While in London, he meets Bruce Woodley, a member of the Australian folk rock group called the Seekers, and they find common interest in songwriting. The Seekers were looking for new material and agree to have Paul collaborate with Bruce to write some songs for them. Among the other songs they write, Paul and Bruce do one about dealing with a bad relationship. It contains lyrics that Paul at the time considered to be rather silly. Even so, they present it to the Seekers, and the Seekers apparently agree that the lyrics are silly because, although they did finally end up recording it in October of '66, they initially turn it down. Paul keeps the manuscript and a demo for later use, whenever that may be. It's Labor Day in the U.S., Monday, September 6, 1965, at the Alibi Bar in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The Rondells are playing the last of their summer gig at the Alibi. In the audience is the New York attorney Nathan Wise, the business partner of none other than the Beatles manager Brian Epstein. Wise and Epstein are planning to open a new management office in New York and co-manage U.S. acts from there. When Wise hears the Rondells, he tells Brian the next day that he should look into making them clients. They had the right stuff to make it. Always on the hunt for new artists, Wise introduces Dan Donovan to Epstein, and he becomes their manager in late 1965, with Wise acting on his behalf. And his first order of business? Change the band's name. Because there was already another band called Billy Deal and the Rondells, and even another one called the Hondells, and when one wants to carve out a place in the music business, name confusion can't be part of the plan. Between the two managers and a consultation with John Lennon, the Cyrkle is dubbed as the correct choice, except it isn't spelled the same way as the common noun. John Lennon, borrowing an idea from the Byrds, provides a unique spelling of the new name by using a Y instead of an I and a K instead of a C, and the Cyrkle is born. It is now mid-January 1966. Even though guitarist Don Danneman joins the Coast Guard Reserve this February for a 6-month hitch, chiefly to avoid being drafted into the military, he is able to have weekends free, and the Coast Guard is liberal with his leave time, allowing the Cyrkle to continue playing when they can. In a streak of good luck, Barry Kornfeld, Paul Simon's co-publisher, has also heard the group. He is putting together a touring band to support Simon and Garfunkel and asked Tom Dawes if he would do a short tour playing bass with the duo's band. And since the Cyrkle isn't going to be doing very much while Don is on active military duty anyway, Tom agrees. Paul, Simon, and Tom get to know each other during the tour, and at some point during that tour, we're not sure exactly when, Paul Simon plays a demo for Dawes of a song that he originally conscripted for the Seekers, a song that he considered a throwaway, and offers to give it to Tom and the Cyrkle, and Tom agrees. It is entitled Red Rubber Ball. Columbia 30th Street Studio, New York, early February 1966. Meanwhile, again, John Simon, not related to Paul Simon, has just been promoted from trainee to associate producer in the pop music department of Columbia Records. This is a position that is typically relegated to dealing with second-tier acts that the producers don't expect to be profitable. Nathan Wise, acting as the group's promoter, has a meeting with John to pitch the Cyrkle as a new artist and plays a demo of Red Rubber Ball. John, after hearing a demo of the song that the Seekers had rejected, believes that it has potential and goes to his boss to ask for $5,000 to record the song and an album with the Cyrkle. John Simon gets the official go-ahead to record the group. Unbeknownst to Nathan Wise, his 4-member band would soon become a trio overnight as the keyboardist Earl Pickens leaves the band to attend medical school. Saturday, February 12, 1966, New York City, Studio B, Columbia 30th Street Studios. The song's tracks are recorded on a 3-track master, with the bass, lead guitar, and percussion on the right track, and acoustic guitar and Hammond organ on the left, with the vocals on both. With no one now in the group playing keyboards after Earl's departure, the Hammond organ used for the now iconic hook on the recording of Red Rubber Ball is played by producer John Simon. With some extra overdubs, the master is finally completed and is released on April 4th, 1966. The song takes off in the charts, climbing steadily week by week, and then during the week of July 9th, 1966, Red Rubber Ball reaches the number 2 position behind the Beatles' Paperback Writer on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Based upon this success, Brian Epstein decided to book the Cyrkle as one of the opening acts for the Beatles' 18-performance 1966 summer tour that begins on August 12th. In preparation, Don requests and is granted an early release from his Coast Guard Reserve active duty 1 month early at the end of July. Pickens' spot in the group is filled by Michael Loskamp, who will also continue as a member to work on the band's second album titled Neon in late 1966. They are the only non-British band that Epstein manages, and they tour with the Beatles in the summer of 1966 during what becomes the Beatles' final tour. The Cyrkle's second, and as it turns out, their last top 20 hit, Turn Down Day, will reach number 16 on August 18th during that Beatles tour. And yet, even with all of the exposure in that tour, the Cyrkle find themselves without a true following. Tom Dawes had this memory. I remember that most vividly in contrast between Candlestick Park, now Monster Park, with, 50,000 people cheering and screaming, says Dawes, and the Cyrkle's next gig, 2 nights later, is at some lowlife dive in the Catskills where there were 14 people in the audience, including one guy who's tapping on his water glass and yelling, "Hey, keep it down, keep it down. I'm trying to eat here." Ah, showbiz. In their brief moment in the spotlight, the Cyrkle sold over 1 million copies of Red Rubber Ball, a #2 song that they didn't write and which was recorded with an organ part played by their producer because their keyboard guy dropped out before they started recording it. After one more top 20 hit, Turn Down Day, and one more 1966 album, Neon, plus some conscripted music for the movie The Minx, they still failed to garner a heavy following and in late 1967 disband, marking the end of the original Cyrkle. After the Cyrkle disbanded, both Tom Dawes and Don Daneman started new separate careers as ad jingle writers. But Dawes kept his hand in the rock music business briefly as well, producing 2 albums for the band Foghat. You'll also likely remember at least one of the jingles that Dawes wrote, as it was the famous Alka-Seltzer Plop Plop Fizz Fizz jingle in 1976. Don Daneman wrote jingles for the Continental Airlines people and Swanson Foods and penned the original 7-Up Uncola song. Drummer Marty Fried left the music business altogether to attend law school. He graduated from Wayne State University in Detroit in 1972, becoming a bankruptcy attorney in suburban Detroit. Earl Pickens, the keyboard guy that left the band to attend med school, finished med school and became a surgeon. In retrospect, perhaps it's for the best that the Cyrkle came to a fairly prompt conclusion with only 2 hits. It may have saved the guys from the pressures of the business, which, as we have seen elsewhere, can prove to be hazardous to one's health. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button for me, will you? And leave a comment. Let me know what you think. You can also use the comments to suggest video subject matter regarding pop music between the 1950s and the 1970s. And this would be a good time to subscribe to the channel. If you're not yet a subscriber, all you have to do is click the subscribe button and use the top bell icon in there so that you'll get notifications of new content when it is posted. If you are already a subscriber, consider upgrading your subscription to channel member status by clicking on the join button on the main screen of the channel when it's in a browser page. If you are a member, you can gain exclusive access to new videos days before the general public can see them. Thanks again for watching.